Hey, Melissa.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
You look
How are you?
lovely. Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Introducing the both of you, Rasha, Melissa, first time
Hi.
you've met, but
Such
you've
a
probably
pleasure.
crossed paths on the red carpet, no doubt.
Maybe. I don't know. It's been a while though. I mean, my memory is not that good. So I forgot
Yes,
about what a red carpet feels
right?
like right now. I'm like, where are the red carpets? I
We'll
mean,
have to talk about that too, Melissa. I mean, it's
uh,
got so many changes with that, but I'm sure maybe our paths have crossed. I mean, it's been such a long time. At
yeah.
least it seems like a long time, right?
No, it has. Yeah. It's just the new normal. I don't know. I kind of like though being home and not having to
Yeah.
get ready necessarily, and just being me. And yeah, there's a good side, about the whole staying home and getting more personal, and
Yeah.
like interacting with people like from your place, and it's different. Yeah.
Yeah. And I got to say, it's nice getting out of my pajamas and putting on my Sunday best, even my Sunday shoes for you guys. And
You
Really?
did.
Oh, wow. I'd have to say I'm wearing this with pajamas underneath it.
all right.
Well, I am not even going to mention what I'm wearing right now. It could look both ways, so you decide. But
On that note, let me give everyone a bit of an introduction to you, and then we can continue this.
Okay.
I think what's going to be quite a lively conversation.
I'm excited. I can't wait.
So, Melissa, welcome. You are a French-Italian actress now living and working in LA, but with deep roots in the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
I regard you as a truly transatlantic person, Euro personality, and that's why I thought another reason you'd be so great for Global Impact, which is listened to worldwide. So you went from being a professional ballerina in France to an actress in London, and you went on to successfully play a variety of characters on stage, as well as in British films. And since relocating to LA, you've worked as an entertainment host and got your break playing the female lead in the first movie ever made on the controversial figure Christopher Dorner in Dorner Manifesto for Murder.
Yes.
Your credits are many and include appearing on the Emmy Award-winning TV show Justice for All with Judge Cristina Perez, as well as supporting role in the upcoming horror movie Beast Mode starring Ray Weiss, C. Thomas Howell. As well.
You're doing well with the name. I can pronounce them, so I'm like, wow, I'm impressed.
With a name like mine, you get a lot of practice.
I was going to say.
And then you've, as well as being in the front of the camera, you produced the romantic comedy Le Bouffon, which I love, in which you played the lead. We're going to talk about that a bit, but the film won the prestigious Laura Ziskin Fellowship Award from the Producers Guild of America. And yes, again, we've managed to reach you at your home in Los Angeles. So on the last part of that bio, Melissa, is let's talk a little bit about your work, because I understand, as I've just read, it's a bit in front of the camera and behind the camera. Do you prefer one, or is it kind of a thing you switch back and forth in between?
I like both. I think I started in front of the camera, but slowly I slided behind the camera. It's a different feel. Behind the camera, it gives you a better control over creativity. The final product, you get a wider scope of what's going on. As an actress, well, you're in the moment. So most of the time you perform and you can't even remember what happened. You're like, oh, did I just act? So yeah, no, I like both. And yeah, I mean, right now, particularly because there's not many production, I'll take anything. Like, I'm happy to be in front of a camera, behind the camera. It's yeah, it's a different feel.
And Melissa, speaking of your exciting opportunities, I understand you have a project that's currently in the works where you're playing a big famous character that we're all familiar with.
It's very controversial, yeah. So a friend of mine, Joshua Newton. Hi, Joshua, if you're seeing the show. Hi, he's in London right now. He's a British director, and he's writing a movie about, well, he did write a movie about O.J. Simpson, the whole trial, etc. I know there's been like already a lot of coverage about it. You know, on Netflix, there was a mini series, TV series and everything. But this is a satirical conspiracy thriller. It's a total different take on the whole O.J. Simpson story. And the director happened to know O.J., so he has new informations. So it's going to be a little bit of definitely controversial. It's going to a lot of buzz for sure, because this story is still in people's mind after all this time. Did he not? I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe you'll know when you watch the movie. I won't say anything, zip. But what's exciting for me is, well, I'm going to be playing a real life character, Kris Jenner, Kim Kardashian's mother, when she was younger. Now that's a challenge because she's very mediatized. Everybody knows who she is. So for an actress, I've never played a real life person, like character, and it's going to be like a challenge. I mean, I'm going to have to use my theater skills here and, you know, like change my accent, mimic her voice, her face. The preparation is going to be, it's going to be different. And I just hope I'm going to, you know, do it justice. And it's a lot of pressure on me because being European and French and being cast as an American, I mean, it's always a bit of a hit or miss, but hopefully it will be a hit. And so we'll see what happens with this. So yeah, at the moment, the production is, they stopped obviously filming. It should resume in, I think the director said in fall. So we'll see what happens, you know, finger crossed. Yeah.
We're gonna look out for that. I can imagine that's very nerve-wracking when you are playing an actual person. And
yes, and she, yeah, and the Kardashian, I mean, they're very controversial. I mean, you love them or you hate them. It has this, I mean, everybody knows who they are, and everybody has a perception on who they think they are. And when you, as an actress, when you're actually tackling a real life person, it's very difficult because it's not just your vision, it's also the director's vision. And you know, you just have to tell your truth, and also like go on the, you know, it's not an easy job because you cannot please everybody. So I'm prepared here for, and my character is not going to be savory. So yeah, I shouldn't say that. Actually, I should zip it, but I'm excited. I just want to talk about it because it's been so long. Like, I'm actually excited talking about a role right now. So yeah, but I definitely, it's going to be a different experience for me, and I cannot wait. We'll see what happens, but yeah.
I have no doubt that you'll pull this off in a very excellent way, because you have a lot of skills, and we'll post your bio, or your website rather, on the podcast website when the show is uploaded. But you also, among other things, worked as a private investigator in London, and also you were studying ballet. You were a ballerina, right?
Yeah. I mean, the private investigation, I don't know why. Every time I get interviewed, for some reason, it comes up.
It's the ballerina part that interests me more.
Well, okay, I'm fascinated by both. The combo of both.
It's not as exciting as people think. I mean, private investigation, you know, it's a job. Okay, so which one do you want to talk about?
Let's go with the ballerina.
Ballerina, okay.
Yeah.
So, well, my mom put me at 4 years old in a ballet school, like, you know, because she was working. Initially, it was just because she wanted to probably have time for herself, you know, parents, and, you know, they put, you know, little girls in ballet, boys in soccer or football or whatever. So initially it just started as a hobby. And then when I was 8, my ballet teacher approached my mother and told her that I had capacity, I had the body. I mean, it's a very, it's a vocational career. I mean, ballet is very tough, and not only on the skills, but you have to fit a certain format. And so you get picked up very young because it's a very short career. Anyhow, so at 8, I decided that I was going to be a ballerina because my mom and my ballet teacher, you know, pushed me. And I ended up doing very well. I joined the Roland Petit company in Marseille, which was a big achievement for me. That's where Zizi Jeanmaire, I don't know if you know anything about ballet. You know, she was the wife of Roland Petit. I mean, it's such a big company in France. So I was very excited, and I thought, this is it. I'm going to be a prima ballerina. You know, my dream was going to happen. And then unfortunately, when I was 15, I just got into an accident, and that ended the whole thing, the whole dream. That was very tough for me. It was one of the darkest time of my life, because I was almost like, I wouldn't say brainwashed, but even though I was a kid, I was very mature. I was acting mature because I was in a place in my life where I had to study in the morning, go to rehearsal in the afternoon. I had a special program. I had a special diet. I was very restricted, and on a young kid, it formats your brain. You know, the discipline, the hard work, going through the pain, the blood, the tears. So by 15, I was very mature, and I when that career escaped me because of a freak accident, I didn't know what I was going to do with the rest of my life. And for me, it was over. It felt like I didn't know where to go anymore. Like my whole world collapsed, and and it was really tough. But that was also the turning point on me becoming an actress too. So thinking about it, yes, it was bad, but I don't regret it. Everything happens for a reason. I wouldn't be here talking to you guys if that didn't happen. Yeah.
So. I regarded ballet as a very disciplined art, posture, coordination, things like that. Do you think some of those skills might have helped you in your current career, translated in terms of?
Definitely. I mean, as I said, it formats your brain. Like ballet is very much like, it's like being an athlete. It is an athlete. It is an athlete. I mean, you have, this is tough. I mean, yes, you do all this, beautiful, you smile, you're floating, you're jumping, but you have no idea how many hours you put into it, and blood, how many times I had my feet I had blood everywhere. The skin was gone. I mean, sorry, it's a bit gross, but this is the reality. And behind the scene, you go, you smile, you get out, and you have no skin left. So it's like boxing. It's extreme. I would call it like an extreme sort of sport, because you have to go through the pain, and it is a mental preparation. You push through the pain, and then you eventually don't feel it anymore. But guess what? That's physical. But what happens too is that mentally, it formats you to go through obstacles, where every time something happens bad to you, you have this kind of self-defense mechanism where you can cope with the pain of it, which definitely I used in my life a lot.
I've never taken ballet, but I have done ballet warm-ups.
You haven't?
When we were little, our parents took our whole Saturday and scheduled it, and one of those was Ukrainian folk dancing.
Oh, yes.
And then when we were older, we voluntarily went into these semi-professional groups, and we had this, I remember this one dance instructor who was very big into Martha Graham and the warm-up, so breathing and posture and everything.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
And actually, I remember it to this day, funny enough. I guess it's because they were so hard, but it just is ingrained in your brain to do it.
It is, and you almost learn how to love the pain, and it becomes like almost, it's hard to describe. It's like you seeking the pain. At the beginning you resist, and eventually you let go, and when you're not feeling it, it's like, am I doing it right? Am I pushing enough? I mean, there's this constant need to excel in this profession. And the competition is very tough. I mean, you have to be the best, and there's always someone younger, better, who comes in and who might be better, and so you have to push as much as you can, and you're as good as your last job. It's like acting, right? So
I was going to say, I'm sure that mentally strengthened you for the private investigator job too, right?
Yeah, well, that was more, I mean, the story of me becoming a private investigator is pretty funny, because So I graduated from drama school in London. I did a short film with a director, and that was it. 2 years later, he contacts me and asks me about my career. And I was not doing too good. I was, doing commercials and modeling. I was at the beginning of my career, like figuring out the business in London. And he just opened a private investigation company, and he started telling me about it. I was like, what? And then he said, look, if you want, you could work for me. And I'm like, I thought it was a joke. It's like, what? You want me to work for you as what? He said, no, but you don't understand here. You're an actress. You're good. I worked with you. Nobody will suspect you as a private investigator. You're female, so you're more approachable for the female client, So I think you will be an asset for our team. And I was like, but where do I start? He said, don't worry about it. I'll just teach you the skills. It's very much like, matter of fact, and, like having, it's not complicated once you start getting into you don't need to have this, it's not like rocket science. That's how it started. And it was an adventure because for me, initially, I was like, oh, I'm going to do it because I might later like get cast as a private investigator and to get the experience. Next thing is I'm like stuck with it for 2 years and doing like not even exciting things. Initially I was behind this, computer, screening people, working for insurance, lawyers. And then it got more excited later on. I had cases of missing people, which was rewarding because, we managed to, that was one of a case where we managed to bring back 2 sisters who were in their 70s and who got separated during the World War II. So that was like very emotionally rewarding for me. And also we had some, adultery cases when you go and spy on people, and that I didn't like. Because I was like, if I keep on doing this, I'm going to become jaded. So I'm just like, I don't want to know what's going on. So it was a bit of an adventure, but.
I'm surprised the James Bond people haven't called you yet, but maybe
right?
After the show they will.
Come on, call me. I always
after
wanted to
this show they will, because she's the real deal.
That's right.
At that time.
Thank you. Yeah, tell them.
Melissa, your accent is so fascinating to me because it's a combination. So tell us about the accent. And then I want to know, coming into Hollywood, how has it been challenging when it comes to, booking roles, or has it been easier for you?
Yeah. So when I was in London and I graduated, I sounded perfectly British because I had a 3-year working program where we had a dialect coach doing accents, et cetera, et cetera. And they said to me, when you graduate, you have to sound RP, received pronunciation. Otherwise, you're not going to work in London. So I got out of drama school sounding perfectly British. And I got my first agent, and he was looking at my resume and he said, you're native French, right? And I'm like, yeah. I said, why do you sound British? You don't even look British. You look more Italian, exotic. So you're not an English rose. I'm like, I don't know. I'm a little bit confused now. I thought I had to sound British. He said, forget about the British. Anyhow, I still had the British, but I had problems to sound French because I was so brainwashed into thinking I had to sound British. When people were trying to cast me as French, I was doing the z, like how British try to sound French, which was a caricature of my own accent. And people were like, you don't sound French. I'm like, well, okay, I don't sound British. I don't sound French. Where do I sound from? I was so confused. So I tightened my accent and, I managed to sort it out. And then I came to LA in 2012 and I wasn't sure if I had to get the American accent or not. So the manager I had back then, he was like, well, it would be good if you have it. But if you don't, there's a lot of roles for foreigners now. I came at a time where they were offering a lot of roles to European actors. And, there was Marion Cotillard, the French actress. And they were more flexible. That they embraced the ethnicity, and Latinos were doing very well back then. There was Sofia Vergara, yeah, that's her name. She was doing extremely good with her very strong accent. And So people were like, well, keep your accent because I think it's going to sell. And I'm like, what accent? Which one? And they said, well, whichever you have, it's good. So I was juggling with the British and the American, but my American was never that good. So a lot of people were like, well, you stay British or French, you know, stay European. You're very European. And yeah, so it has been a little bit of it held me back a little bit because I would have loved to really dig into the American market better, you know, like play American roles, and Kris Jenner is the perfect opportunity for me right now because I won't have a choice now. I just have to do it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if that answered your question.
It did, and your accent is uniquely beautiful. So,
well, it's a mess right now. Just so you know, I was telling Michael like a few days ago that because I haven't worked for quite a while, accent is like a workout. It's like fitness. You have to constantly work out that muscle, the tongue muscles, and the tongue is one of the most powerful muscles in your body and gets lazy. And if you're from a foreign country, you cannot take it for granted. So every day you should normally put on 30 minutes, 50 minutes, something, you know, to keep the muscle working. But COVID hit and I was like, I'm going to have a holiday. And now I sound confusing. Confusing and unique. So it's a bit of a mess, you know, having talked to my family so much, you know, the past year, because, you know, you want to talk to your family when a pandemic hits, like, I mean, with all the chaos and everything. And yeah, so now I have to, start working again on the accent. It's like going back to the gym, and I'm going to have like pains in here. Muscle pains.
Yeah, I think you're onto something, Melissa, because you know, I do the occasional TV interview, and I think days can go by here in this. I'm so lucky to live here where I don't talk to anyone, but you do notice that it's a good idea to work out beforehand. So maybe I'll start talking to myself or something.
You're gonna do the ba 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 ba.
There you go. Yeah.
Like warming
Yeah,
up.
see, we're gonna take the tips from you, Melissa. Same.
That's right.
Don't. I am not there yet. I'm just starting, right? Literally, I started when I was in Florida for the holidays. I came back, New Year resolution, sort out my accent. Because I'm like, COVID's gonna go away. I'm sure, there's no question about it. But my accent has to be sorted now, because by the time COVID's gonna be sorted, I won't be, if I don't work now. So
well,
I'm on it.
Like Rasha said, it's a beautiful accent. And by the way, while you're speaking about ballet, someone came to mind. Karen Kane was our kind of prima ballerina here in Canada. And one of the news stories that popped up about her, very interesting, she talks about the pain at ballet. And she said, ballet to me was like, whenever I walked on them, I felt like my legs might shatter. And then later on, she said her body aches were so bad, it felt like really bad arthritic pain. So yeah, it must be.
I can relate. I have the consequences of this training for sure. I have pains in different places, but you know, it comes with the territory of pushing your body to the limit, you know, so yeah.
Well, and Melissa, speaking of all this wonderful work you've been doing and working here in Hollywood, right? I know you mentioned earlier that, of course, both of us living here in Los Angeles know production has been halted and really, really cut down. But I'd love to know your take on how you see award season and how COVID has impacted actors, actresses, the entire industry as we hit award season this year.
It's not an easy question. It's a loaded question because, well, first of all, I haven't left since COVID hit. I haven't been back to Europe for, you know, health reasons. I didn't want to catch COVID. I mean, it was so unstable and scary. I just stayed here. However, I have a lot of friends in Europe who are working right now. I'm in touch with them. So I'm having an insight from, you know, personal insight from my actor's friend. And it's very interesting because my experience here is very different from what's going on in the UK, in Paris. They're not, even though COVID hit them bad too, over there it's a lot more flexible. They're more flexible with regulations, and they haven't stopped filming. They're still filming in Europe. I have a friend who's filming right now in Poland. Another friend was filming in south of France. It's actually open. Not as open as it used to, but they're still working. And in here, zero. I mean, and I was I was talking to a lot of friends of mine about it. And I think it's because America, the US, the legal system in here is so strict. There's so many lawsuits, it's a country based on everybody's suing everybody, and the studios are scared. I think they just don't want to get in trouble. I mean, and get a multi-million-dollar lawsuit because somebody died on set or something. So everybody's frozen here from fear. And so what's happening with independent production companies, what they're trying to do is associate themselves with European production right now so they can finish whatever they started, because every day they're not filming, they're losing money. And so a lot of American productions at the moment are negotiating with, I know like a big production company in Germany, and he was telling me that they were in talk, trying to make their production happen in Europe because it's more flexible. I mean, Tom Cruise is filming in Venice, I think, at the moment.
And he had that little blowout as well that went viral too.
Yeah, that was.
Well, he wanted to keep it safe, right, on his set, so he was really concerned.
Yeah.
And again, maybe that, again, as you were mentioning, Melissa, that goes back to just whether it's lawsuits or just following those regulations. He wanted to make sure that they had a strict set that was following all the rules. I mean, that was the entire reason that they were not in the US filming, right?
I think he was right. I mean, no matter if it's PR or not PR, I don't care. Whatever the content was, whatever he said, it's important, because in a production, you have hundreds of people involved. One person doing something wrong could shut down 400 jobs. Like, people, and with what's going on right now, people losing their business and everything. I mean, we don't need people to be responsible. We have now more than ever to take charge of our health, other people's health, and take responsibility. It's not a joke, and people are dying right now. And yeah, I mean, you don't want to live COVID every day, but you just need to know what to do to be safe and keep other people safe. And I think Tom Cruise had he made his point, and I'm with him on that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a real big challenge now for a lot of jurisdictions, like provincial governments here in Canada, of what to resume again. So we're now looking at return of football and hockey, competitive sports in stadiums with no audience, but and also film. It's a huge industry.
I was going to ask you, actually, in Canada, it's like France, right? It's more flexible with filming. You're in Vancouver, right?
Yeah, I'm on Vancouver Island, but actually there's filming going on as we speak right down the street from me, a huge production. It's probably another Hallmark production, but a lot in Vancouver. But what's happened there is the industry and government got together and put a plan together on quarantine, safety protocols, stuff like that. And you know what? It works because exactly what you said. Everyone realizes one small overlooked fact or plan can ruin the whole thing. And it's such a huge industry. I mean, California has, even before COVID, lost a lot of production here because, I think our governments give tax breaks as well. So everything put together. But and we just saw in Australia, the International Golf Championship, and one or two people got ill and they've had to quarantine people. And so anyway, it's quite a complicated thing. But I think further we get into this so-called new normal, we'll learn from what's happened and how others do it, and hopefully it'll pick up.
Just had to ride. At the moment, I think we all have to ride the wave, and nobody knows what's going to happen next. But it's like stay put and figure it out one step at a time. That's the best way.
It's exactly what we're doing here in Hollywood, right? I mean, even I mentioned award season earlier because that's all the awards have been pushed up.
I read about. How are you? What about you, Rasha? I mean, what's the situation as a host? And I guess you're still working because everything is now on Zoom. And did it affect you? Yeah.
It did. Like yourself too. I mean, it's been challenging, right? Because there's some networks who really thrive, because I do a lot of international work as well.
Right.
So for them, being there on the Hollywood red carpet in a place is what they crave for, and that's what they want to showcase. So a lot of those networks, they pulled out and didn't have me cover stuff anymore. But I have been fortunate with I'm a freelancer, so with a couple of the other networks, we've been doing it via Zoom. It's interesting, right? Like, for example,
it's different.
It's very different. Like you and I, we're all having a great time talking here, but I think after a while, there's just that different energy, even when you do press junkets, when you're in front of each other.
It's not the same.
Moments, yeah.
It's it's as close as we can be right now, but the live, the energy, all this, the red carpet, the gowns, the flashlight, all this, it makes you feel a certain way. It's heightened. It's magical, and that magic, disappeared for a year, and it's
hard through the Zoom to be like dressed up in a nice gown and interviewing.
Do you have people like in gowns being interviewed?
It's been less. I mean, we'll see now how this year plays out, right? Because we're getting ready for the Golden Globes and the Oscars and the SAG Awards. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play that out. I think everybody's just kind of waiting. But you know what? We've got to be safe. Like you said, we've got to take care of each other. And right now, we're all doing the best that we can.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and things are starting to be planned. For example, right as we speak right now, the World Economic Forum would normally be happening in Davos in Switzerland. But what they've decided to do is postpone it till May. And for the first time ever, they're going to hold it in Singapore. Why? Because they have very low case rates there. They're very strict. And they were actually building a kind of bubble near the airport for business travelers to come in the next few weeks and resume doing business with Singaporeans, but it's going to have all the protocols there. So I think people are kind of feeling their way, what works and what doesn't. But man, all of us, I'm telling you, are looking forward to that return of human interaction and networking, and
tell me about
talking to a lot of my professional peers. Even they say we miss even hugging, things like that. It's got to be
the good thing, and when everything's going to reopen, we're going to give each other like a big hug. Everybody's going to jump on everyone, because we're just having withdrawal syndromes right now. I mean, we took it for granted for so long. We were on autopilot going, oh yeah, and now it's like, a year of this, it's like it does hit you and makes you realize. And I think that's the positive of COVID and the situation. And obviously, it's not, there's a lot of bad things, happening, but the positive was that everybody had to slow down. And, we froze, and we all were in that same situation globally. It was not just one country or one group. We all got affected with the same thing collectively. And I think in a way, there was been division, but there's also like been togetherness, like a sense of let's figure it out together. And, I think like stopping, sometimes slowing down and reevaluating, like where are you in life? What do you want to do? Where are you happy? All these things we couldn't do before because we were always busy running, right, left, work, audition for me. And not even appreciating friendship and family as much because we took it for granted. We think like this thing's never going to happen. And so the positive here is that it put us in a position where I think we became human again and vulnerable. And I think maybe it was needed. Maybe we need it. I know it's what I'm saying might be controversial because people are dying right now. But
we were on autopilot. We were running on autopilot, and it's taught us to come together not only as humanity, but to really understand what our lives are and to maybe learn where the values really lie versus what we were placing them on.
Yeah. I think it was a good. It was a good time to reevaluate. And I think now, I'm excited about what's going to come next because there's been growth. I think we're not seeing it right now, but a lot of people had to grow. It kind of forced people to grow. Pain makes you grow. I would know. I was in that, ballerina. I felt the pain my whole life, and I know that it's a big part of growth. And we're not going to be any more the same humans we were before the pandemic, and hopefully we'll be better humans.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
We have some questions, right?
Yeah, we have some questions. Rasha, do you want to?
Sure. So the first one, and I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly.
Yeah.
Tamara is from Cape Town, South Africa. And she says, Melissa, movies provide a respite, a window into a better time to come, or a challenge that we've overcome. What kind of movie would you prefer acting in during these difficult times, and why?
It's a good question. And by the way, hi to Tamara, right?
Yep.
Where's she from?
In Cape Town, South Africa.
Cape Town, South Africa. Okay. Hi, Tamara from Cape Town. And yeah, I hope you're healthy and safe. And I don't know the situation, but yes. To answer your question, I think right now, more than ever, we need more entertainment at any capacity, meaning that when COVID hit and we were stuck at home, the only thing we had was Netflix, TV, movies, music. And so I'd say I don't have a preference. What I want is just entertain people. I want to make them cry. I want to make them feel, laugh, more laugh than cry. But, even like bringing a feeling to somebody, it's already connectivity for me. And also like maybe just doing movies that are a lot more deep, who helps people to tap into their own kind of, heart and everything. I think we need inspirational movies. I mean, it's interesting because how I got into acting was because of Rocky, the film Rocky. After my accident and
really?
When everything was, I know it sounds a little bit cheesy and maybe a cliche, but I was 15 and I didn't have time to watch movies. I was always in ballet or at school. I didn't have a life when I was a ballerina. I didn't have time. So once everything stopped, I was watching a lot of movies, entertaining myself. And I came across one Sunday, I was watching Rocky, and initially I didn't connect with it. I was a boxer. I mean, it's a bit of a, dude, like movie. But but the story, what hit me was maybe like 30 minutes in the film, when I realized it's not about boxing here. It's about an underdog. It's an underdog story. It's a person who had things against him and was trying to overcome obstacle. And in the end, he kind of won. And it's very inspirational. And it just, for me personally, it gave me back life, a purpose. I'm like, that story had such an impact on me that that's when I wanted to be an actress. I said, I want to do what Rocky did, but more so Sylvester Stallone, because that was his story. And I started researching Rocky, and I'm like, this is actually an underdog actor playing an underdog character, and making it particularly the first one was so raw and realistic and deprived from all the, the glamour and then they developed more the Rockies, and it lost a little bit. Personally, I think it's magic. But the first one, that love story also with Adrienne, I can't remember her name, and it was just like heartwarming and subtle, and anyhow. So I love underdog stories. I mean, my motivation is I would love to write underdog stories. This is where it started for me. If ever I start writing and making movies. Yes, but we need also comedy. We need lightness. We need, films to inform people and educate people. I think there's definitely, with this COVID and pandemic, we realized we didn't put enough time on our education. We're getting it from the wrong places, I think. And there's been a lot of confusion because of this. So I think as an entertainer, an actress, an artist, it's our duty to serve the audience, help them to see better, or give them at least a vision, a personal vision, so they can think and for themselves, and make up their mind. And so come on, Hollywood, get to work.
That's a great answer. In fact, a few episodes ago, we had Dr. Sira Madad on the show. She not started, but was featured in the Netflix kind of film documentary Pandemic. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she said something very similar that you said as well, is that we need people that we can trust and share information. Mm-hmm. Interesting that people who listen to this podcast, but Linda in Cannes, France. Mm-hmm. Okay, now you're going to hear my Quebecois French. But
I can't wait to hear that.
Comment vous devenue actrice? How did you become an actress? I think
I answered it
that,
in English.
But maybe if people out there are thinking, younger people of going into this profession, was there any kind of advice you might give to them?
Yes. In French?
En anglais, s'il vous plaît.
En anglais, ok, on va parler en anglais. Yeah, so, people who, so I'd say like when you, because it's, I mean, there's different reasons why people want to get into acting. They could be inspired by a movie. They can get inspired by the limelight, the lifestyle. I mean, there's different reasons, and there's no wrong reasons on why you want to do something. I'd say ask yourself the question, why? Why do you want to be an actor? And I would say ask yourself the question, why? Answer that question, and then ask yourself against why. At every answer you get about 7 times. So you get to the core of the really why you feel the need to be an actor, because it's not an easy path. It's a very, it's not secure. I mean, there's ups and downs. Every time you go to an audition, it's like going for an interview, and that's your life, really. I mean, before you get to that point of booking and doing the job, you have not only to train, and it is a profession, it's a craft. You have to train and to get the skills, but you have to have the mindset too. And there's so much involved, and you know, you have to be at the right place at the right time, meet the right people, create a network. And so I'd say like anybody who wants to be an actor has to really think why. And if your why is strong enough, do it. Go with your heart. You know, it's a beautiful profession. You know, it's magical. You meet interesting people. You travel. You get to play like things you would never ever play in real life or be in real life. You know, I played an astronaut. I mean, and I crashed on Earth. This is kind of, was it fun? I don't know if it was fun. It was 16 hours on set, hot. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, you get the what I'm saying. So I'd say, yeah, I would encourage people to follow what's in their heart more than ever now, because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I think it's got proven, you know, like the past year. And so do what makes you feel happy. Figure out what makes you happy and just follow that, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. We don't know what's going to happen. And stick to it. Have a game, you know, have a plan, discipline, work at it every day. You know, you want to be an actor. I mean, you should work on the accent. Oh my gosh, I'm just giving advice and I'm not following my own advice. That sounds totally wrong right now. I'm like, whoops. Okay, that was COVID, all right? I gave myself a break. But yeah, no, it is, you know, like when I was in like proactively acting, I would put 30 minutes of accent every day, practice self-taping. You know, it's like going to the gym. It's a fitness. You know, you cannot take it for granted. It's not, you know, you're pretty or you want to do it. You turn up and you're gonna get booked. You have to understand the craft. Yeah, you have to make it a muscle memory. So by the time you go to your audition, you're ready, because you have 5 minutes. 5 minutes in the moment when you get in the room. Those people in the room for you to win. It's actually hundreds of hours of preparation, and that's just my journey. But I'm sure some people got lucky and got part because, you know, they looked a certain way, or, you know, they were the son or, you know, the daughter of, and that's fine. But if you're not, work hard, follow your heart, and get working.
And that why is really important, Melissa. I love that you mentioned that. Yeah. I fully believe in that. The why is really important.
Why? Yeah.
Well, I'm going to ask you as my last question, words of inspiration, but I think you've done it for us. Those were beautiful words. I think for people who are thinking of any pivot or advancement of their career or anything, is the advice you gave is really, really relevant. So thank you for that. And this time has just flown by. We really wanted to thank you. You're the first actress to be on
I'm
Impact.
So flattered and honored.
Thank you. Welcome into this alumni of diverse people from around the globe. And we wish you luck with everything you're doing. We're going to keep in touch. And after we sign you off, we have a little surprise for you. You'll hear it in the podcast, a little piece of music. We're going to do one right after this in French, and then a final one in Italian to kind of honor your background. But the first one is going to be, I'll introduce them afterwards, from a really cool band I found, Man Sound. and they're going to do Les Moulins de mon cœur.
Les what?
Les Moulins.
Oh, Les Moulins de mon cœur. Oh my gosh, I love that song. I love that song.
And it's actually a band from Ukraine that has performed all over the world. So, and they just, before we got on, they emailed me and asked me to say hello and congratulations. Wow. And by all means to play their music and share it with this audience. So,
oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah. So again, thank you very, very much, Melissa.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Rasha. Thank you, Michael, for inviting me and giving me a voice. Yes. And yeah, just stay safe and healthy. And, you know, and that's the most important.
You too. And we look forward to all your exciting work coming out soon.
Yeah.
Well, same.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.